The start of Season 2 has completely turned the entire Fortnite storyline upside down, and right now, all eyes are locked on the Ice King. What began as a simple turf war has escalated into an all-out battle for reality itself. Can we actually piece together the crazy mysteries this season is hiding? Honestly, if you're not keeping up with the Fortnite lore lately, you are heavily missing out. We are finally getting those massive events and payoffs we've been waiting literal years for. And no, this season's storyline isn't just about some alien orb bouncing around the map. Basically, the narrative right now is entirely focused on the Order, trying to track down the rest of the Seven, with an assist from this alternate version of the Visitor. That's exactly why they can't go head-to-head just yet. They are seriously lacking the manpower. Meanwhile, the Voyager has been hopping through different key realities, snatching up fragments of the 0 point. It definitely looks like he's trying to rebuild it, but he's doing it completely his own way. After freezing the entire island, the Ice King somehow made it over to the Golden Coast, which is the island from the regular Battle Royale mode. This is huge because it officially connects both game modes in a way that is way more concrete than anything we've seen before. Speaking of which, we got this icy biome with castles and all that, which obviously belongs to the Ice King. We see him strolling down a hallway full of incredibly powerful living beings, to put it lightly. It's still up in the air if this is the OG Ice King we've always known, or an alternate version. He's rocking a different skin and look, but it could easily just be the same guy with a fresh coat of paint. Either way, his overall mission seems identical. If you remember, the Ice King was never actually a villain in the lore. The Marvel comics completely cleared his name. His whole vibe was just freezing any artifact or living thing from any reality that posed a massive threat or held too much power. He was never loyal to the Imagined Order or the Seven, he just operated on his own terms. But this specific version of the Ice King might actually be evil by nature. If he ends up teaming up with the Voyager, it's either because he's entering his villain era, or maybe this new version of the Seven are actually the bad guys this time around. There are a ton of possibilities on the table. Next up, we catch a glimpse of the Prisoner, specifically his original version. That tracks, considering they used to be allies from different kingdoms, even though the Prisoner was always obsessed with tweaking realities using universal artifacts. The last time we saw the OG Prisoner was also in the Marvel comics, where he ended up frozen underwater again. But if he's here now, how is the OG mode storyline going to work? Next season, Season 8, is incredibly important because he's the one who summons the volcano and wakes up the Devourer. My bet is that at some point next season, the Prisoner is going to find a way back to the OG island to make all of that happen. We also have Aurelia in the mix, who is related to Marigold, or basically her undead version. Normally I'd think they just dropped that skin in for the aesthetic, but with how much lore Fortnite is packing into this chapter, Aurelia might actually be super relevant next season. She's essentially a guardian against tomb raiders. That makes total sense, because if the Ice King is out here freezing artifacts and beings, he'd definitely have to cross paths with the Guardian protecting them. There's also another Captain America skin, though I don't think there's insanely deep lore there. It's probably just flexing a new look for a character whose whole brand is being frozen for ages and waking up as a man out of time. And finally, after all this waiting, we get the Foundation. He's back in different armor, rocking a silver suit and a leather vest. The big question is whether this is our Foundation or an alternate version from the new Seven. Since the alternate Visitor has a totally different helmet design, and the Foundation still has his classic visor, it's probably our guy. Those visor symbols are basically their ancestral branding. It's how you verify the original. But why is he frozen? If you look super closely, he's frozen mid-fight. He was definitely throwing down with someone, maybe even the Ice King himself. They used to see eye to eye on the 0 point, so it's wild that they'd be rivals now. I'm guessing that if the Ice King is evil now, it's the fallout from the Seven failing to free the 0 point from the Imagined Order, which obviously brought a wave of terrible consequences. Since Season 2 is titled Showdown, we are clearly getting a massive clash between factions. I personally think the Ice King will step up as a third faction, meaning the core season is going to be a massive three-way war. The Seven versus the Dark Voyager versus the Ice King. Every Season 2 in Fortnite history has been heavy on faction wars, and they are famous for being straight up peak in terms of gameplay and lore. This time will definitely be no exception. I am genuinely loving how fast and consistent the story pacing is right now. Back in the day, we would have waited multiple seasons just to see a spaceship land, but now it feels fast-paced without feeling rushed at all. Taking all this into account, here is my main plot prediction. The Dark Voyager's constant reality hopping and hoarding of 0-point fragments has seriously ticked off the rulers of those realities. Now, they've tracked him all the way to Golden Coast to take back what he stole. Everyone wants a piece of that power. So we are looking at all the factions on the island, fighting a massive free-for-all brawl for those fragments. All of this chaos is happening right as it collides with OG Mode's Season 8, and the entire thing is going to climax with the Devourer waking up. I'll throw out a few more rapid-fire predictions before we wrap up. I think the Ice King is finally getting voice lines, and the link between Battle Royale and OG is going to be permanent and game-changing. We probably won't see all of the 7 return until Season 3, and Marvel will absolutely shoehorn some lore in using that new Steve Rogers skin. Midas is almost guaranteed to show up since he practically lives for Season 2's. On the flip side, I highly doubt the Imagined Order will make an appearance right now since they didn't even show up until Chapter 2 Season 5 anyway. They are definitely saving them for later. Epic is taking the story in such a massive direction by bringing back these high-potential characters. If you vibe with this content, definitely show some love by using the super powerful code PUNKED in the Fortnite item shop. I'll leave you full trailer's breakdown in case you missed it. This trailer is all about the lore, featuring the Cubehead who's currently hunting for the 0-point shards. That's why we're seeing this villain crew square off against the 7, who are slowly but surely making their way back to the island. The trailer kicks off with a bang inside the Voyager's ship. We've seen it from the outside all season, but this is the first time we've gotten a peek at what's inside. It could even be a new location for Season 2, which would be totally sick. As we already know, Dark Voyager has been working with the last reality since the start of the season. Just like back in Chapter 2 with the Cube Queen, they've got an army of soldiers, the Elite Intruders, who actually dropped as skins ages ago. These guys are basically small Kevin-style cubes wearing humanoid armor, which we know from the second style of those skins. A small detail that's easy to miss is that they're gold, which suggests they're higher rank than the Chapter 2 versions, and will probably be a new style that gets added at the start of Season 2, though I hope they aren't a separate skin. I'm also betting there'll be rival bots that pop up to defend their boss, the Dark Voyager, and hopefully they'll all be chilling inside the ship. Their weapons actually look like 2 new Season 2 guns, and while they seem similar, one has a strap and a llama sticker, and the other doesn't. Now that we've checked out the army, the million-dollar question is why Fishstick has so much knowledge. The Voyager has him kidnapped, trying to squeeze out the location of the 0-point shard. My first thought was that Fishstick was like the Peely from Chapter 5, super knowledgeable, and that's why they snatched him. But the most obvious answer is that this Fishstick is originally from Reality 7021, which is where a 0-point shard ended up. While the Voyager searches for this reality on his screen, we can see a ton of interesting details, like how the fish shares DNA with regular fish, and that they all come from the same reality. On the fragment screen, we see 3 of 7. That last number is probably the total number of shards scattered across the universe, and this one is either the 3rd they've counted or the 3rd one they're missing. As for the lighthouse blueprint, anyone paying attention to the story has already clocked that it's the same one we saw on the loading screen, which means we still have 2 more spots to travel to. One of them is the Ice Castle, which they showed in first trailer, and while the fragment wasn't in that video, the screen confirms it's there. The other spot looks like a desert or something. The last screen shows the Slurp sprites who arrived in Fortnite Chapter 6. In the next scene, the ship jumps to the new reality where the new Battle Pass skin is fishing. This is where the ship starts to suck up everything below it, which is Coral Castle. This location first appeared in Chapter 2 Season 3, but it looks like it's native to this world, and its inhabitants are all aquatic skins we've already seen in the game. Plus, there are several disguised Joneses who have somehow learned to breathe underwater. The trailer wraps up with the new skin landing on the ship, and the Voyager orders his soldiers to grab the squid, while he gets mad at Fishstick for ratting out where they were. That's how the new character gets to our reality and island, but theoretically they'll be trapped by the Voyager. So, we'll have to see how they explain the breakout in the upcoming videos. I'll give you my theory right now. One of those soldiers is actually Hope, or another good guy who's currently undercover in the Dark Voyager's army. That would explain why one SMG has a llama sticker and the other doesn't. It makes more sense than them being two different guns, though I wouldn't rule that out. I'm also fairly sure both the new skin and fish stick will be NPCs next season, since the video ends with a message that the fish stick will return. Oh, and everyone already knew this was a Marvel reference, but with this second scene, literally copying what they did in the first trailer, and what Marvel does with every trailer, it's 100% confirmed that they're pulling a Doomsday. I've already shared my theory that it would be awesome if we saw Marvel characters pop up over the next few months, leading to a collaboration in December when the movie comes out, maybe even another season or a mini-event with Marvel. The biggest question after seeing this trailer is whether Coral Castle will make it to the island. Everything suggested that the 3 zones with a fragment would be the new locations for Season 2. But now, after seeing this trailer, I've got my doubts because the area just seems to get drained of water, and that's it. Still, I figure the 3 zones will somehow be generated based on the image. So if I had to put money on it, I'd say yes, Coral Castle is coming next season. Circling back to the trailers, these aren't coming out randomly. They're following the end of season teaser that Fortnite posted a few days ago, the one right here. We've already gone through several phases. The March 9th and March 12th teasers are the 2 trailers we've seen, and the March 7th and 8th ones were the in-game events where the ship left and returned to the island. So, before Season 2, the only thing left is the event. We might get a mini trailer for that, but we'll most likely see an in-game event. Leakers have already shared the time, which I'll leave for you guys, and they're calling it a mini event, not a full-blown event. The most likely scenario is the leak from 3 weeks ago where the ship fires at the 0 point to open a bunch of portals. But the really interesting stuff is going down on March 18th, the day before the new season. After seeing all the trailers and skins and everything, we'll probably get the final trailer, either a gameplay trailer or a more extended story trailer that's not just focused on a couple of characters. Then, of course, on the 19th, we'll get the new season, and the new storyline, which honestly looks totally awesome, will kick off. If you're not totally caught up on the lore, you can do it right now. Want to know why the Visitor has been chasing Voyager across different dimensions? Or who our cube-headed buddy is actually working for? Believe me, this is just the tip of the iceberg, but let us take it from the top. You might not have noticed, but this season turned out to be the most lore-heavy one we have had in the last 2, maybe even 3 chapters. When was the last time we got voice lines?
She's stubbornly pursuing the Dark Voyager.
And more than 3 mini-events in a single season. And they all tie directly back to that original storyline created by Donald Mustard. The Visitor, the Rocket, the 0 point, and some sketchy suits. Basically, we are swimming in lore and new season info. So grab your popcorn, get comfy, and plug my creator code in the item shop if you want to support the channel. In the latest update, a rocket launch pad popped up right near the canyon. It is pretty hard to miss, and it showed up without any countdown timers or heads up whatsoever. So a massive shout out to our beloved Epics for throwing us that curveball. Though, if you are subscribed to my second channel, you were totally ready for it, since it has everything a Fortnite player needs, including the full event recording. Anyway, even if you have already seen the event, you need to watch it again closely, because this is far from your run-of-the-mill event. I do not know about you guys, but this event gave me some massive Chapter 1 Season 4 flashbacks. And honestly, it is super poetic, because that original Visitor launch from the island is what kickstarted the storyline that had millions of people hooked for at least 3 chapters. But a few years after our favorite creative director Donald Mustard left, the Fortnite lore honestly started falling off hard. And just when it seemed like there was zero hope for a comeback of the original engaging storyline, the Visitor rocket suddenly touches down on the island out of left field. And it did not just happen off screen. It was a full-blown mini-event, symbolically mirroring the original rocket launch. Why am I pushing this whole symbolism thing so hard? Because it would have been a cakewalk for Epic to just spawn another meteor on the map, or a pre-built Visitor rocket sitting on a pad. Instead, they actually put in the elbow grease and recreated the Season 4 rocket event almost play for play, just with a landing instead of a launch. The fact that the driving force behind the story, both back then and right now, is the very first member of the mysterious group known as the Seven, is a massive hint that the OG storyline has not just returned, it has evolved into a new phase. What is also interesting is that the Visitor flew through a red rift that opened up in the sky a couple of weeks ago. The kicker here is that this is the exact same rift that appeared after the rocket launch in the OG Season 4. Turns out, this alien has zero connection to the original Chapter 1 reality. He came from a parallel dimension and a completely different timeline. So, this is not the guy we used to know. It is an alternate version of him. So drop an F in the comments for our OG old-timer who started this whole mess, because his spot just got taken by a doppelganger from another world. So it turns out that when he launched the rocket in Fortnite OG Season 4, dude deliberately took off to hunt down the Dark Voyager. According to him, he has been hunting the Cubehead for a long time now, and along the way, he has visited dozens of dimensions that Voyager turned into absolute wastelands. And now, finally, this wild goose chase has brought them both to our island. By the way, I wonder if the skins for the Visitor and the rest of the Seven will hit the item shop? Well, just to be ready for when they drop, make sure you have got my creator code locked in your shop. Anyway, right after landing, the Visitor was immediately greeted by our squad, the Order, Jones, and Hope. But even though the first contact was pretty chill, a conflict of interest quickly flared up between the teammates. From the new voice lines, it is clear that Order wants to attack the Voyager right now, while the Visitor, who has already seen what the Cubehead is capable of, says that is a terrible idea. He even compared the Order to her sister, the Imagined, who sacrificed herself battling Gino. Looks like those words really struck a nerve with the Order, because after that convo, she went off to dig up dirt on the Dark Voyager solo. Speaking of the Visitor, this dude does not just talk.
She's stubbornly pursuing the Dark Voyager. Alone. In my reality, her sister was the impetuous one.
I can hear you, Viz.
Which is more than we can say about our old bro, but he is out here barking orders at everyone. He totally put Hope in her place, telling her she has zero clue about what is actually going on. Maybe in his reality, he was not just a member, but the actual leader of the Seven. And since we are on the topic of voices, they got Ben Starr to voice the Visitor. But what is way more important is that this new Visitor knows a whole lot more than anyone else, and he is not shy about rubbing it in. For example, he literally chews out the Order, and the rest of the Seven for leaving the 0 point unguarded after taking down the Imagined Order. And if you think about it, he is dead right. That exact decision is what led the Nothing to discover the 0 point and kick off its invasion, meaning all the chaos we have been cleaning up for the last few chapters is basically the fallout from just one single mistake by the Seven. Right out of the gate, the Visitor got straight to business. And honestly, the funniest part is that he does not sugarcoat a single thing. He straight up calls everyone fools for thinking it was a good idea to just leave the 0 point unattended. And he is right. He did not just bring a rocket with him either. Somehow, he found Amy and shoved her right into his ship's onboard computer.